Hi, listener. This is From Ideology to Unity, a spiritual journey where we let go of ego and ideological doctrine in favor of meaning, purpose, and unity as a whole. In this episode, I'm alone again, and what I'm going to read out here is I'm doing a reading of the Stanzas of Dzyan from The Secret Doctrine. This is the first edition, 1888 even, by Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. This is the new edition, 2016, edited by Tarl, Warwick, who incidentally is also the YouTuber Sticks and Hammer 666, which I didn't realize at first until just now, which is interesting. Yeah. So okay, so first I'm going to give the, actually, I'll read the back, the blurb, and the foreword. I honestly think that it's got interesting information about it there. So, the Stanzas of Dzyan, actually, no, that's wrong. Sorry, I pronounced the whole thing wrong. Dzyan. There we go. I'm just going to let it stand. I'm just going to say it wrong in the beginning. There you go. Yeah, the Stanzas of Dzyan were originally released by Helena Blavatsky as part of her secret doctrine in the late 1800s. Popular in the era regardless of her habit of being caught out conducting fraudulent seances, they purport to be of Tibetan origin. This rough esoteric doctrine, translated by Blavatsky, forms one of the many bases of theosophy. It is a strange document with significant Eastern inclusions and indeed was influenced by Buddhist scriptures and documents in the era. It is a worthy occult work, one which has a place in the history of modern occult development. So there we go. And hopefully I'll say it right this time. All right. Dzyan. It rolls off the tongue usually. So the foreword. This relatively short work was compiled along with a great deal of other material on Blavatsky's Secret Doctrine, a text of relative popularity in its era, her spiritual teachings and debunked seances holding quite a bit of sway in polite society at the time. While the Stanzas of Dzyan are certifiably not of Tibetan origin and appear to have been based, as much of her teachings were, on the then current Atlantean law, that doesn't detract from the relative subjective possibility of their application in a spiritual sense. Blavatsky herself was largely a fraud. Her seances were contrived, and the magical letters which she claimed to obtain from long-dead spiritual masters were letters she herself wrote. But to ignore her contribution to the occult world overlooks two factors which unfortunately have recently overshadowed every work she has ever crafted. Firstly, Blavatsky shaped the then modern occult as much as any other famous figure within the spiritual realm. We might think here of Crowley or Mathers, or perhaps some other of the greater minds of antiquity or the Enlightenment. Second, that Blavatsky's influence has continued and permanently pushed the occult in a new direction, which became a stand-in for atheism among many who had fallen away from the Judeo-Christian and Islamic paths of the world, fusing East and West and making acceptable in Victorian society that which was once considered taboo. Indeed, Blavatsky, for all her shortcomings and more obvious fraudulent activities, has had more of an effect on spiritual topics than anyone else in her era by far. Within the occult, fraud and misattribution is often pointed out by both occultists who happen to dislike a certain path, book, or person, or by the secular who wish to use that the same as evidence that it is all hogwash. I say that the problematic claims Blavatsky made are also the root of far older material. Definitely Definitely all of the Solomonic grimoires which shaped the entire Renaissance and even secular endeavors of that age, and probably spanning back far into antiquity, and in developing also the books and scripts that many supposedly enlightened minds consider to be true in some form or another. This edition of the Stanzas of Dzyan has been rendered into modern English and some antiquated word usage cleaned up. Care has been taken to retain the original meaning of the passages. The Stanzas of Dzyan 1. Cosmogenesis. Stanza 1. The eternal parent, wrapped in her ever-invisible robes, has slumbered once again for 7 eternities. Time was not, for it yet lay asleep in the infinite bosom of duration. Universal mind was not, for there were no ahi to contain it. The 7 ways to bliss were not the great causes of misery, were not. For there was no one to produce and get ensnared by them. Darkness alone filled the boundless all, for father, mother, and son were once more one, and the son had not yet awakened to the new wheel and his pilgrimage thereon. The 7 sublime lords and the 7 truths ceased to be, and the universe, the son of necessity, was immersed in the paranishpana, to be breathed out by that which is, and yet is not, naught was. The causes of existence has been done away with. The invisible that was, the invisible that is, rested in the eternal non-being, the one being. Alone, the one form of existence stretched boundless, infinite, causeless, in dreamless sleep, and life pulsated unconscious in universal space, throughout that all presence, which is sensed by the opened eye of Dangma. But where was Dangma when the alaya of the universe was in Paramartha, and the great wheel was Anupadaka? Anupadaka? Yeah, question mark at the end there. So keep in mind, I'm going to be pronouncing things wrong. That's just something we have to accept here. Anyway, I'm going to carry on with stanza 2. Where will the builders, the luminous sons of the Manvantaric dawn, in the unknown darkness, in their Ahi Paranashpana, the producers of form from no form, the root of the world, the Divamatri and the Savabhavat rested in the bliss of non-being. Where was the silence? Were the ears to sense it? No, there was neither silence nor sound, naught save ceaseless eternal breath, which knows itself not. The hour had not yet struck, the ray had not yet flashed into the germ, the Matri Padma had not yet swollen. Her heart had not yet opened for the one ray to enter, thence to fall, as 3 into 4, into the lap of Maya. The 7 were not yet born from the web of light. Darkness alone was father, mother. Savabhavat and Savabhavat was in darkness. These 2 are the germ, and the germ is one. The universe was still concealed in the divine thought and the divine bosom. Stanza 3. The last vibration of the 7 eternity thrills through infinitude. The mother swells, expanding from within without, like the bud of the lotus. The vibration sweeps along, touching with its swift wing the whole universe, and the germ that dwells within the darkness, the darkness that breathes over the slumbering waters of life. Darkness radiates light, and light drops one solitary ray into the waters, into the mother deep. The ray shoots through the virgin egg. The ray causes the eternal egg to thrill and drop the non-eternal gem, which condenses into the world egg. The 3 fall into the 4. The radiant essence becomes 7 inside, 7 outside. The luminous egg, which in itself is 3, curdles and spreads in milk-white curds throughout the depths of mother, the root that grows in the depths of the ocean of life. The root remains, the light remains, the curds remain, and still Oeohu is one. The root of life was in every drop of the ocean of immortality, and the ocean was radiant light, which was fire and heat and motion. Darkness vanished, and there was no more. It disappeared into its own essence, the body of fire and water, of father and mother. Behold, Olanu, the radiant child of the two, the unparalleled refulgent glory, bright space, son of the dark space, who emerges from the depths of the great dark waters. It is Oeahu, the younger, he shines forth as a sun. He is the blazing divine dragon of wisdom. The Eka is Chatur, and Chatur takes to itself Tri, and the union produces the Sapta, in whom are the 7, which become the Tridasha, the hosts and the multitudes. Behold him lifting the veil and unfurling it from east to west. He shuts out the above and leaves the below to be seen as the great illusion. He marks the places for the shining ones and turns the upper into the shoreless sea of fire, and the one manifested into the great waters. Where was the germ, and where was now darkness? Where is the spirit of the flame that burns in thy lamp, O Lanu? The germ that is that, and that is light, the white brilliant sun of the dark hidden Father. Light is cold flame, and fire. Light is cold flame, and flame is fire. And fire produces heat, which yields water, and the water of life in the Great Mother. Father, Mother, spin a web, whose upper end is fastened to spirit, the light of the one darkness, and the lower one to its shadowy end, matter. And this web is the universe, spun out of the 2 substances, made in one, which is Sababhavat. It expands when the breath of fire is upon it. It contracts when the breath of the mother touches it. Then the sons disassociate and scatter, to return into their mother's bosom at the end of the great day, and re-become one with her. When it is cooling, it becomes radiant. Its sons expand and contract through their own selves and hearts. They embrace infinitude. Then Sarvabhavat sends Fahat to harden the atoms. Each is a part of the web, reflecting the self-existent Lord. Like a mirror, each becomes in turn a world. Stanza 4. Listen, ye sons of the earth, to your instructors, the sons of the fire. Listen, there is neither first nor last, for all is one number, issued from no number. Learn what we who descended from the primordial 7, we who are born from the primordial flame, have learned from our fathers. From the effulgency of light, the ray of the ever darkness, sprang in space the reawakened energies, the 1 from the egg, the 6 and the 5, then the 3, the 1, the 4, the 1, the 5, the thrice 7, the sum total. And these are the essences, the flames, the elements, the builders, the numbers, the arupa, the rupa, and the force of or divine man, the sum total. And from the divine man emanated the forms, the sparks, the sacred animals, and the messengers of the sacred fathers within the holy 4. This was the army of the voice, the divine mother of the 7. The sparks of the 7 are subject to and servants of the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th of the 7. These are called spheres, triangles, cubes, lines, and modulars. For thus stands the eternal Nidana, the Oihahu. The Oihahu, which is darkness, the boundless, or the no number. The Adi Nidana, the Savabhavat. The O, first of the Adi Sanat, the number, for he is one. Second, the voice of the word, Savabhavat, the numbers, for he is 1 and 9. Third, the formless square, and these three enclosed within O are the sacred four, and the 10 are the Arapa universe. Then comes the suns, the 7 fighters, the one, the 8 left out, and his breath, which is the light maker. Then the second sun, oh, never mind, sorry. Then the second 7, who are the Lipika, produced by the 3. The rejected sun is 1. The sons are countless. That's pronounced SON-sons, SUNS. So I apologize for misphrasing things and I'm to repeat it, but I'll let it be. It's all right. It's a natural reading, right? Stanza 5. The primordial 7, the first 7 breaths of the dragon of wisdom, produced in their turn from the holy circumgyrating breaths of the fiery whirlwind. They make of him the messenger of their will. The Dzyu becomes Vahat, the swift son of the divine sons, whose sons are the Lipika, runs circular errands. Vahat is the steed, and the thought is the rider. He passes like lightning through fiery clouds, takes 3 and 5 and 7 strides through the 7 regions above and 7 below. He lifts his voice and calls the innumerable sparks and joins them together. He is their guiding spirit and leader. When he commences work, he separates a spark of the lower kingdom that float and thrill with joy in their radiant dwellings, and forms therewith the germs of wheels. He places them in the 6 directions of space, and one in the middle, the central wheel. Vahat traces spiral lines to unite the 6th to the 7th, the crown. An army of the sons of light stands at each angle, the Lipika, the middle wheel. They say, this is good. The first divine world is ready, the first, the second. Then the divine Arupa reflects itself in the Chahaya Loka, the first garment of the Anupadaka. Foyat takes 5 strides and builds a winged wheel at each corner of the square for the 4 holy ones and their Ramis. The Lipika circumscribe the triangle, the first one, the cube, the second one, the pentacle within the egg. It is the ring called pass not for those who are descended and ascended, who during the Kalpa are progressing towards a great day. Be with us. Thus were formed the Arapa and the Rupa. From the one light, 7 lights. From each of the 7, 7 times 7 lights. The wheels watched a ring. By the power of the Mother of Mercy and the knowledge, Kawan Yin, the triple of Kawan, Shai Yin, residing in Kawan Yin Tien Fohat, the breath of their progeny, the sons of the sons, having called forth from the lower abyss, the elusive form of the Sien to Chan and the 7 elements. The swift and the radiant ones produces the 7 layer centers, against which none will prevail to the great day be with us, and seats the universe on these eternal foundations, surrounding Sien Tahan with the elementary germs. Of the 7 first one manifested, 6 concealed, 2 manifested, 5 concealed, 3 manifested, 4 concealed, 4 produced, 3 hidden, 4 and 1 Dzyan revealed, 2 and 1/2 concealed, 6 to be manifested, 1 laid aside. Lastly, 7 small wheels revolving, one giving birth to the other. He builds them in the likeness of older wheels, placing them on unperishable centers. How does Fahat build them? He collects the fiery dust. He makes balls of fire, runs through them and round them, infusing life therein, to then sets them into motion. Some one way, some the other way. These are cold, he makes them hot. They are dry, he makes them moist. They shine, he fans and cools them. Thus acts Fahat from one twilight to the other during 7 eternities. At the 4th, the sons are told to create their images. 1/3 refuses, 2 obey. The curse is pronounced. They will be born in the 4th, suffer and cause suffering. This is the first war. The older wheels rotated downward and upward. The mother's spawn filled the whole. There were battles fought between creators and destroyers, and battles fought for space, the seed appearing and reappearing continuously. Make thy calculations, O Lanu, if thou wouldest learn the correct age of the small wheel. Its 4th spoke is our mother. Reach the 4th fruit of the 4th path of knowledge that leads to nirvana, and thou shalt comprehend, for thou shalt see. Stanza 7. Behold the beginning of sentient formless life. First the divine, the one from the mother spirit, then the spiritual, the 3 from the one, the 4 from the one, and the 5 from which the 3, the 5, and the 7. These are the threefold and the fourfold downward, the mind-born sons of the first Lord, the shining 7. It is they who are thou, I, he, O Lanu, they who watch over thee and thy mother, Bahumi. The one ray multiplies the smaller rays. Life precedes form, and life survives the last atom. Through the countless rays of the life ray, the one like a thread through many beads. When the one becomes 2, the threefold appears, and the 3 are 1, and it is our thread, O Lanu, the heart of the man plant called Saptapana. It is the root that never dies, the 3-tongued flame of the 4 wicks. The wicks are the sparks that draw from the 3-tongued flame, shot out by the 7 their flame. The beams and sparks of the moon reflected in running waves of all the rivers of earth. The spark hangs from the flame by the finest thread of Fahat. It journeys through the 7 worlds of Maya. It stops in the first, and is a metal and a stone. It places into the 2nd, and behold, a plant. The plant whirls through 7 changes and becomes a sacred animal. From the combined attributes of these, Manu, the thinker, is formed. Who forms him? The 7 lives and the 1 life. Who completes him? The 5-fold Laha. And who perfects the last body? Fish, Sin, and Soma. From the firstborn, the thread between the silent watcher and his shadow becomes more strong and radiant with every change. The morning sunlight has changed into noonday glory. This thy present wheel, said the flame to the spark. Thou art myself, my image and my shadow. I have clothed myself in thee, and thou art my Vahan to the day. Be with us. When thou shalt re-become myself and others, thyself and me. Then the builders, having donned their first clothing, descend upon radiant earth and reign over men who are themselves. So 2, presumably chapter 2. So 2, Anthropogenesis, stanza 1. The Laha which turns the 4th is servant to the Laha of the 7. They who revolve, driving their chariots around their Lord. the one eye of our world. His breath gave life to the seven. It gave life to the first. Said the earth, Lord of the shining face, my house is empty. Send thy sons to people this wheel. Thou hast sent thy 7 sons to the Lord of wisdom. 7 times doth he see thee nearer to himself. 7 times more doth he feel thee. Thou hast forbidden thy servants, the small rings, to catch the light and heat, thy great bounty to intercept on its passage. Send now thy servant to the same. Thy servant the same. Said the Lord of the shining face, I shall send thee a fire when thy work is commenced. Raise thy voice to the other lokas. Apply to thy father, the Lord of the lotus, and his sons. Thy people shall be under the rule of the fathers. Thy men shall be mortals, men of the Lord of wisdom. Not the sons of Soma are mortal. Cease thy complaints. Thy 7 skins are yet on thee. Thou art not ready. Thy men are not ready. After great throes, she cast off her old 3 and put on her new 7 skins and stood in her first one. Stanza 2. The wheel whirled for 30 crores more. It constructed rupas, soft stones that hardened, hard plants that softened, visible from invisible insects and small lives. She shook them off her back whenever they overran the mother. After 30 crores, she turned round. She lay on her back, on her side. She would call no sons of heaven. She would ask no sons of wisdom. She created her own bosom. She evolved watermen, terrible and bad. The watermen, terrible and bad, she herself created from the remains of others. From the dross and slime of her first, second, and third, she formed them. The Dhyani came and looked. The Dhyani from the bright father-mother. From the white regions they came, from the abodes of the immortal mortals. Displeased they were. Our flesh is not there. Go fit rupas for our brothers of the 5th. No dwelling for the lives. Pure waters, not turbid, they must drink. Let us dry them. The flames came, the fires with the sparks, the night fires and the day fires. They dried out the turbid dark waters. With their heat they quenched them. The lahas of the high, the lahamayan of below came. They slew the forms which were 2 and 4-faced. They fought the goat-men and the dog-headed men and the men with fishes' bodies. Mother Water, the great sea, wept. She arose. She disappeared in the moon, which had lifted her, which had given her birth. When they were destroyed, Mother Earth remained bare. She asked to be dried. Stanza 3. The Lord of the Lords came. From her body as separated the waters, and that was heaven above, the first heaven. The great Shohans called the lords of the moon, of the airy bodies. Bring forth men of your nature. Give them your forms within. She will build coverings without. Males, females will they be. Lords of the flame also. They went each on his allotted land, 7 of them, each on his lot. The lords of flame remained behind. They would not go. They would not create. Stanza 4. The 7 hosts, the wheel-born lords, propelled by the spirit of life-giving, separate men from themselves, each in his own zone. 7 times 7 shadows of future men were born, each of his own color and kind, each inferior to his father. The fathers, the boneless, could give no life to the beings with bones. Their progeny were Bhuta, with neither form nor mind. Therefore, they are called the Chahaya race. How are the Manushya born? the Manus with minds. How are they made? The fathers called to help their own fire, which is the fire that burns in earth. The spirit of the earth called to his help the solar fire. These three produced in their joint efforts the good Rupa. It could stand, walk, run, recline, or fly. Yet it was still a chaya, a shadow with no sense. The breath needed a form, the fathers gave it. The breath needed a gross body, the earth molded it. The breath needed a spirit of life, the solar lahas breathed it into its form. The breath needed a mirror of its body. We give it our own, said the Hyanis. The breath needed a vehicle of desires. It has it, said the drainer of waters. But breath needed a mind to embrace the universe. We cannot give that, said the fathers. I never had it, said the spirit of the earth. The form would be consumed were I to give it mine, said the great fire. Man remained an empty, senseless Bhuta, and thus have the boneless given life to those who became men with bones in the third. Stanza 5. The first were the sons of Yoga, their sons the children of the yellow father and the white mother. The second race were the product by building and expansion, the asexual from the sexless. Thus was Olanu, the second race, produced. Their fathers were self-born. The self-born were the Chaya from the brilliant bodies of the lords, the fathers, the sons of twilight. When the race became old, the old waters mixed with their fresher waters. Then its drop became turbid. They vanished and disappeared in the new stream, in its hot stream of life. The outer of the first became the inner of the second. The old wing became the new shadow, and the shadow of the wing. Stanza 6. Then the second evolved the egg-born, the third. The sweat grew, the drops grew, and the drops became hard and round. The sun warmed it, the moon cooled and shaped it. The wind fed it until its ripeness. The white swan of the starry vault overshadowed the big drop. The egg of the future race, the man swan of the later third. First male, female, then man and woman. The self-born were the Chayayas, the shadows from the bodies of the sons of twilight. Neither water nor fire could destroy them. Their sons were. Stanza 7. The sons of wisdom, the sons of night, ready for rebirth, came down. They saw the vile forms of the first third. We can choose, said the lords. We have wisdom. Some entered the Chayahayas. Some projected a spark. Some deferred till the fourth. From their own Rupa they filled the Kama. Those who entered became the Arhats. Those who received but a spark remained destitute of knowledge. The spark burned low. The third remained mindless. Their jivas were not ready. Those were set apart among the seven. They became narrow-headed. The third were ready. In these shall we dwell, said the lords of the flame and the dark wisdom. How did the manners, the sons of wisdom, act? They rejected the self-born. They are not ready. They spurned the sweat-born. They are not quite ready. They would not enter the first egg-born. When the sweat-born produced the egg-born, the twofold, the mighty, produced with bones, the lords of wisdom said, now we shall create. The third race became the Vahan of the lords of wisdom. It created the sons of will and yoga. The Kriya Shaki, it created them. The holy fathers, ancestors of the Arhats. Stanza 8. From the drops of sweat, from the residue of substance, matter from dead bodies of men and animals of the wheel before, and from cast-off dust, the first animals were produced. Animals with bones, dragons of the deep, and flying sarpas were added to the creeping things. They that creep on the ground got wings. They of the long necks in the water became the progenitors of the fowls of the air. During the third, the boneless animals grew and changed. They became animals with bones. The Shahayas became solid. The animals separated the first. They began to breed. The twofold man separated also. He said, let us as they, let us unite and make creatures. They did. And those which had spark took huge she-animals unto them. They begat unto dumb races. Dumb they were themselves, but their tongue untied. The tongues of their progeny remained still. Monsters they bred, a race of crooked red hair covered monsters going on all fours, a dumb race to keep the shame untold. Stanza 9, seeing which the Lahaz who had not built them, no, correction. Seeing which the Lahaz who had not built men wept, saying, the Amanasa have defiled our future abodes. This is karma. Let us dwell in the others. Let us teach them better, lest worse should happen. They did. Then all men became endowed with manas. They saw the sin of the mindless. The fourth race developed speech. The one became two, also the living and creeping things that were still one, giant fish, birds, and serpents with shell heads. Stanza 10. Thus 2 by 2 on the 7 zones, the third race gave birth to the fourth. The Sura became Asura. The first, every zone was moon-colored. The second, yellow like gold. The third, red. The fourth, brown, which became black with sin. The first 7 human shoots were all of one complexion. The next 7 began mixing. Then the third and the fourth became tall with pride. We are the kings, we are the gods. They took wives fair to look upon, wives from the mindless, the narrowhead. They bred monsters, wicked demons, male and female, the Hahado, with little minds. They built temples for the human body, male and female they worshipped. Then the third eye acted no longer. Stanza 11. They built huge cities, of rare earths and metals they built. Out of the fires vomited, out of the white stone of the mountains and the black stone, they cut their own images in their size and likeness and worshipped them. They built great images 9 yatis high, the size of their bodies. Inner fires had destroyed the land of their fathers. The water threatened the fourth. The first great waters came, they swallowed the 7 great islands. All holy saved, the unholy destroyed. With them most of the huge animals, produced from the seat of the earth. Stanza 12. Few remained, some yellow, some brown and black, some red remained. The moon-colored were gone forever. The 5th produced from the holy stock remained. It was ruled over by the first divine kings. The serpents who redescended, who made peace with the 5th, who taught and instructed it. And there we go. So that's the end. So other information, this is printed in Great Britain by Amazon. All right. So that's interesting because it seems to me the parts of this that remind me of the Law of One, and parts of it that remind me of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth and the Emerald Tablets of Hermes Trismegistus, right? I definitely see similar themes here. This reference to oneness. And it seems to tell the story of the universe and also of Earth. So, and maybe it's Atlantean law. It certainly fits certain things I've read. Interesting. Maybe I'll give more of an analysis another time. I'm curious what you guys think. Pardon me. Yeah, so that was an interesting read, but I've never read it before, whereas the Emerald Tablets of Thoth I had read before, so that's why that is easier for me to read. Also, some of the things in this are really hard to pronounce. So it's talking about different races. by that I don't mean races of human in the sense we think of it, but different sapient beings on Earth at different times, which is interesting. So, I hope you enjoyed it. I'll leave it at this for now. Bye for now.